Welcome one and all to episode 36 of Teatime. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello!
And today we're talking about seasons 2 and 3 of the Attack on Titan anime. This discussion will be safe to listen to for anyone who has only seen the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan. And we are not going to be talking about any of the stuff beyond season 3, obviously. However, we will be comparing the contents of these seasons to the manga that it's all based on. And so, yeah, just continuing with this anime rewatch. Last time we covered 26 episodes, including the Ilse's Notebook extra episode. And today we're covering the 34 total episodes of seasons 2 and 3. So that's really only 8 episodes more than last month. So it's not as much as it kind of seems when you say, like, oh, this is technically one season more than last time. But season 2 was kind of short. So, plus, before we get into all the discussions, I also want to kind of justify kind of why I wanted to do seasons 2 and 3 together, besides the fact that they aren't that long combined, is that I feel like seasons 2 and 3 kind of belong together more so than any of the other Attack on Titan seasons. Because, like, season 1 kind of stands apart because it came out, like, 4 years before season 2. So, there was, like, such a long time gap there that makes it so that, in my mind, season 1 kind of stands by itself in some way. And then obviously season 4 that comes after this is animated by a different studio, so that makes it kind of unique in its own right. But seasons 2 and 3 came out pretty close together, plus they're made by WIT, both of them, and so I think it makes sense to discuss them at the same time.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
But I guess without further ado, we get into the discussions. Again, we're not going to be talking about, too much about the story here, because we've already gone through, the story in our reread of the manga pretty recently, but the 3 major chunks of this discussion will be first the visuals of the anime, then the audio, and finally the changes, and anything that's changed from the manga and stuff like that. So let's just dive into the visuals first. I had forgotten that they kept the lipstick thing in season 2. For some reason I thought it was only in season 1 and they got rid of it for season 2, but it's there throughout all of season 2, and season 3 was when they got rid of it. And season 3 also got rid of those thicker character outlines, which I did like a lot, but I don't mind that they got rid of it, I guess.
Right. I mean, the lips were definitely a thing that honestly, when you get to season 3, it's like, oh, well, that's different. But it's like, you kind of wish it was like that to begin with.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the lines, I don't know, I kind of went back and forth on the lines, not saying that whether I liked them or not, but sometimes they had thick lines and sometimes they didn't. I'm not talking about flashbacks or anything, but they kind of went back and forth on the thick lines.
A little bit, yeah. Although, yeah, right. It definitely was toned down though, compared to the first 2 seasons. But yeah, right. And I feel like most of the time when the lines were I guess especially thick was in close-ups of things. Usually, it wasn't usually when things were farther away, which
True.
Even in the first 2 seasons, especially season 1, they would still use those really thick lines even for things that were in at a distance. But yeah.
So something that I had a notion of, or something that was ingrained in my mind after having seen all of this previously, I thought that the quality had dipped quite a bit from season 1 to season 2, and that season 3 was a return. It was better than season 2, not quite season 1, but better.
I see.
However, after this rewatch, I totally misremembered. Season 2 is fantastic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's not quite season 1. There is a bit of a drop, and I can't really put my finger on it exactly. I think it's less detail. I'm not entirely sure, but there does seem to be a difference. Almost like season 1 is kind of movie quality animation, almost, and detail and stuff like that. And not to say, and there is a distinction to be made. Animation, there's definitely some fluid animation in all 3 of these seasons, but there's also kind of in season 2 and then definitely in season 3, it does feel more like this is a series that is meant to come out seasonally, every week, versus this is an OVA, so much detail and it's movie quality kind of thing. That's what season 1 felt like for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mentioned last time when we talked about season 1 that there wasn't anything of the 3D animation that I really was bothered by at all in the first season. I think you had a
Oh,
couple of gripes, but
yeah.
um,
Nothing that
I,
killed it for me.
right, right. But like I didn't really have anything to really complain about for the 3D animation whatsoever for the first season. However, sadly, I can't say the same for seasons 2 and 3. The 3D horse riding is not great. I think especially in season 2, but and then obviously there's the colossal titan who appears both in season 2 and 3 as well CGI, and yeah, not not the prettiest thing I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, I guess speaking of 3D animation, yeah, the season 2 was quite the shock when you first see the Colossal Titan in 3D
Hmm.
after having it, so beautifully detailed and illustration, moving illustration type of a thing in season 1.
To be fair, it didn't appear as much in season 1. Like it was really just kind of pretty brief.
Oh yeah, the appearances were brief. They
Mm.
were were more brief. You're right.
So like I understand that it would have been hard to continue to do it 2D animated for seasons 2 and 3, but still, yeah, it's a bit
Yeah,
jarring.
right. It's definitely yeah, for sure. Season 3, the 3D animation, at least for the Colossal Titan, yeah, it could be pretty bad, especially when it was moving.
Mm.
But there were some moments where either they went to 2D
Yeah,
art to a 2D art style that wasn't too bad. Although I think there was a couple times it's like that's not great. But um,
I thought it worked well. Like when it was like close-ups of its face and stuff, they switched to 2D animation. I thought
for
it
the
worked
most part
well.
that worked. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, for the most part it worked well. And there was even some times where it was you could tell it was a 3D model, but I think it was more or less stationary and actually didn't look too bad with
Mm.
the characters in the foreground talking, and then the big 3D model in the back. It kind of blended in the way that the 3D backgrounds sometimes blend
Oh yeah,
well.
fair. Yeah.
But when it was moving and definitely doing like the big swinging moments, taking steps, it was pretty bad, unfortunately.
Sadly, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't tell which I dislike more: the second season's moving Colossal Titan or the third season's moving Colossal Titan.
Mm.
It's hard. I
Yeah,
mean, they're both not great, but
exactly.
they are a little different. So
Right. True. True. No, but I think they're kind of equal in my mind as well.
going back to what I was saying, just I guess taking out the 3D animation,
Mm?
don't you do you agree that the overall production value, not including the 3D stuff, the overall production value kind of took a dip. Not a great dip, but a bit of dip in season 2, but then a bigger dip in season 3. Or do you
Um,
not see what I'm saying?
like
Like, mhm.
I don't think like as far as like the art style and like details in the art goes, I don't think I see that. However, I
Okay, maybe
think
I'm crazy.
for for the animation, like the movements, like the motions in certain instances, I can maybe see it. Because like for example, in season 1 we had the Titan fight between Eren and Annie in the forest. Like that is amazing. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
we didn't get anything of that caliber from seasons 2 or 3.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
so like for the animation I can see it, but for
mhm.
like the I guess how things look in and of themselves, I don't think I understand or I don't see that personally.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. You mentioned the Titan fights, and I
Mm.
had always pictured that the Titan fights were consistent throughout the 3 seasons. But that's another one of those misremembered things. Like really, they never reached the same sort of fluid animation quality that season 1 had, which understandable. I mean, it's so much harder to put on a seasonal anime with
Mm.
the same type of quality. Um, but season 2 was a bit of a dip, and then I'd say season 3, in part 2, the Titan fight.
Mm.
I don't know which I like better, the season 2 one or season 3 one. I think season 2 I like better,
Yeah.
and season 3 just felt a little more choppy in a way.
Yes, I actually agree completely. Like at least comparing like the Reiner versus Eren Titan battles
Yeah, yeah.
in season 2 and 3, I think the one in season 2 is definitely better in my opinion.
Yeah. But no, don't you think that let's take a compare the very first time we see Aaron in season 1, and he's waking up from his dream, and you see the flowers and
Mm.
moving in the wind, and all the details in his eyes, but also in Mikasa, and the background and everything. do you feel that same level of quality now? That, to be fair, that same level of quality is not matched throughout the entire season, but
Fair.
I'd argue that
Hmm.
it is more consistent and appears more like that throughout the first season versus season 2 and season 3.
Maybe that is true. I guess I hadn't exactly thought of it though. Like I feel like those like Attack on Titan eyes, like those really beautiful kind of shining, pretty eyes. I think we do see those throughout seasons 2 and 3 as well. Maybe it is not as frequently. Like maybe that's something
Yeah.
that I just hadn't thought of. So maybe you are right, but at least at least it's there, and I guess I'm satisfied.
No, I could be crazy because, like, as I was watching season 2, it's like, yeah, this really isn't that big of a change. Maybe some things here and there, but not. But season 3 is where I was like, okay, there is definitely a difference here. There's something different from what they did in season 1. Not that it's again, I understand why you can't keep that same consistency
Hmm.
or that same level of quality, but something was bugging me, and I don't have the artistic know-how or talent to be able to pinpoint.
Hmm.
That's what it is. So if
Fair.
anybody listening would care to comment and tell us what exactly the differences could be, if it is just more frames in between, frames, smoother animation,
Hmm.
uh, let me know, or maybe they lessen down on some of the details. But I feel like there was something.
Yeah, yeah. Please let us know either in YouTube comments or in our Discord server that you can find in our description.
Yeah. However, that being all said, I do think that season 2 and season 3 are both beautiful in their own right.
Yeah.
Let's just take animation. Like, there's so many instances of ODM gear, Titans running at people that are just so fluid and beautiful
Oh yeah.
that it. While I see here and wonder what the difference is between that and season 1, I still think that it's still a high quality product in terms of a seasonal anime, and that it does justice to this terrific story.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. Ultimately, I
Well,
think.
at least animation wise.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. Like what one like just example that I think is one of the highlights from this part that we're talking about today is when Levi is slicing up the Beast Titan. After when he reaches the Beast Titan in kind
Hmm.
of yeah in season 3 part 2, and it's just such a treat to watch all that action happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's snippets of just gorgeous animation between these two seasons. When Historia kills her father, after is blown up.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, that whole moment where everyone is flying around and slicing the meat sacks,
Yeah, yeah.
that animation is gorgeous. Then Historia's moment is beautifully fluid, and it's incredible.
It is absolutely. And Levi's and Kenny's kind of first meeting also in
Oh
season
yeah, oh that's
3 part 1.
iconic.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Like that entire action sequence is just so good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that the final episode of season 2, they really do
Mm.
a really amazing job of just the quality is very high, even compared to the rest of that season, and just with animation and art detail and whatnot, it's very
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah, really is. And it's also one of those kind of climax moments that is set during sunset. I think I talked about that last time. That season 1 had a lot of those. Like it had the fall of Shiganshina was set during sunset. A big portion of the struggle for Trost was also set during sunset. And
Mm,
so and it gives off this light that I feel is a kind of an iconic kind of look for the Attack on Titan anime. Just because they have all of these crucial moments set in sunset, and it gives off this kind of orangish light to the whole thing. And yeah, the finale for season 2 is also, oh yeah, it also has that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's probably my favorite episode. Well, okay, I should say one of my favorite episodes. It just and not just because of the you know that one scene in particular. I just think there's just so many. Well, it's just so much emotion and
Oh yeah.
climactic. It's like, oh my gosh, how are they gonna get out of this? Like, is this really the end?
Hmm.
And the music and quality matches the importance of the moment very well.
Absolutely. I'm gonna want to shed some light or kind of give some respect to some of the voice performances there when we get to the audio section. But I agree that scene or that entire sequence is just fantastic all around. But do you want to talk a bit about the visuals for the openings and endings? I think there's some interesting ones.
Sure.
Well, the season two's opening obviously has this whole weird thing where they're running. Well, there's like dinosaurs and whales and
Oh yeah,
giraffes
that
and
was
stuff
weird.
running around. That's so weird, and it is weird. I think I've said before on the podcast at some point that I've just ultimately just kind of chosen to view that as, those are all large animals. They're titanic, like titans, and that's just and like that there isn't necessarily anything deeper than that. That they're just
Nah.
yeah in this story about titans, and I think that might just be it.
Ultimately, I agree. I think there's a time where I was theorizing about certain things, or well, maybe not even theorizing, just saying like, oh, maybe this, maybe. Well, I guess that is what theorizing is, but maybe this it was a hint towards something, but not. At the end of the day, it was a creative choice.
Yeah, I mean
Creative
it's fun.
choice to put giant beings and a whale going.
Yeah, it is a funny choice. But the last shot of that opening does show us this white flower that was pretty much just completely missing from season one, and we talked about that last time. But from season two onward, the anime starts acknowledging those flowers, which I think is is nice, since they are kind of a staple of the manga. And it not only does it appear in the openings there at the very end, but also here and there throughout the episodes of seasons 2 and 3. So I think that's pretty cool.
So they were for sure different flowers than the flowers before in
Uh,
season one.
yeah, since season one mainly focused on or pretty much only focused on those purple flowers, which definitely looked different, I think. That said, though, the white flowers that we have been seeing, at least in the anime, seem to have been different types of white flowers. Like, they have the white color in common, but looking at them throughout different scenes where at least there is some kind of focus on some kind of flower, a lot of them are white, but they don't always look like the same type of flower. I think the manga is a bit more consistent with that, I think, although I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, probably. I think it probably is consistent, but I think in the anime case, it just I don't know, white flowers, whatever. Pick your
Right.
kind, pick your favorite.
Yeah, because like for example, in the first ending sequence for season three, like in the visuals there's like a field of just a bunch of white flowers that Historia is running through, but those are different from definitely I know for a fact different from the one that we see in the opening sequence of season two, although they are white. By the way, I love that ending sequence. Like, I love how, like, for season three, the first one, how
Part one.
it's just completely Historia focused, and also like it looks awesome, I think.
Yeah, I like the story that it kind of tells in it. And yeah, the visuals are very very good.
Right. The visuals in season two's ending are also really interesting.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're really
Like,
fun. Like,
it's like looking at an old medieval
yeah,
storybook in a way.
exactly. But yeah, then there's season three part one's opening visuals. I think are awesome, with like seeing all these characters, kind of, well, younger, like Eren, Armin, Mikasa, Historia, and even Levi and Erwin and Kenny when they were younger.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's nice.
I like how melodramatic it all is. Like, I think there's a moment where Levi, as a young kid, he's just like, oh my gosh, so angst, so much angst. And then Erwin's looking through the window of his childhood, and he just squints his eyes. He's like,
Right.
suspicious. And Aaron's getting his hand cut, and
Right.
as his friends disappear in the background, whatever. And
True.
there's so much like And I think it probably fits the song pretty well. I don't know, but I also wouldn't mind. I think it would be funny if it was kind of like an emo grunge song. I think it would have worked out well
Ooh,
as well,
it would.
just because it's so melodramatic. But anyway,
Uh,
I it is funny because that it also it kind of gives you a sneak peek at what's going on in the story and what these characters are feeling and
yeah.
what they value and whatnot. So that that's nice. And I mean, you compare it to season one's opening or the openings in that one, that it was more general stuff. Like yeah, there was some like hints at what was going to happen within the story, but it was more so general.
Yeah, the first two openings in season that were in season one and the one from season two, I think all of those first three were all very just
Yeah,
general,
that's
as you
true.
say.
Yeah, it's the one in season two. Yeah.
Yeah, but this one um really like had that kind of the theme of kind of the past and the present kind of which yeah, I really like that. But then there was the opening for season 3 part 2 which I think is the spoileriest one
Yep.
out of
Yep.
at least out of Wit's openings here. Um, Although I think it looks great. I love like the colors and kind of the lighting in it. Well, first of all, like for the credits in it, it has like these like this kind of splash of rainbow colors,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of see similar kind of just variations of colors throughout. Well, yeah, in like the scenes that are depicted in the visual sequence, kind of in the light, you see like kind of red and green and blue lights and stuff. But I think it looks great.
Yeah, season three's opening, it has its moments for me. It's not my favorite video, or I don't know what do you call it, like just opening visual. It's
Fair.
it has its moments, like I said, but it's also kind of bland to me.
Mm.
Um, Especially compared to what has been done previously. I think it's because it focused so much on that part of the story, and like you said, it does have some spoilery stuff.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's as creative in what it's depicting.
I agree with that. Mm.
The rainbow colors were a neat effect, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's the ending sequence for season 3 part 2, which is really simple. Like it's really just like
Yeah.
a display of images, but I think it's so nice. Like I think all of those images are nice, especially for that arc to have as the ending sequence, because that arc is, it's a clash between those people that spent so many years training together and being so close together, and in this arc they're really clashing, and like in a really serious way for kind of the first time, if you don't count, well, I guess it's the second time technically, but still, like to like at the end of each episode go back and see all those flashbacks, like honestly it gets me pretty emotional, just kind of the nostalgia of that. I think it has a good effect, even though it is a simple one.
Yeah, it is just basically a slideshow,
Right.
but I mean, it did give us. It was nostalgic to see some of those moments, and even some moments like they're kind of shots that we hadn't really seen before,
Mm.
like a different perspective or something like that. So that that was nice. I do think it's kind of just overall bland as when you compare it to some of the other endings
Yes, that is
and
true.
stuff. Like
Mm.
there's been so much creative, even storytelling within some of these openings and endings,
Uh-huh.
and this one is just kind of here's a beautiful slideshow. But that being said, I agree with you that it fits this arc and how emotional and almost finite the story seems, because in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
since we've gotten to this point in our rewatch, this is the end of a part of Attack on Titan. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Mm.
And then season four starts a new part. That's not spoilery. That's just how it is.
Yes, yes.
Um, and so having this kind of nostalgic ending does fit that well ending.
Hmm.
But again, I think it is kind of bland, and those emotions that a lot of the emotions I think really come from the music, which we will talk about later. But I
Yes.
don't, if it had been like a different song and it wasn't as good, I don't think I would have been as emotional watching it. You know what I mean? So,
Okay,
or
interesting.
as invested in watching that ending.
All right. Okay. I mean that's fair. That's fair. That's definitely fair. But I think maybe if there's anything else we have on the visuals besides, well, the openings and endings, if there's anything left, I have just a few things, and I'll just kick this off with one of them. Is Rod Rice's Titan, when it comes and peeks over the wall, and well, it kind of stands over the wall, and you got
Yeah.
all the guts just coming out of the body there. Like, oh gosh, I love that. It looks so good. Like, and like I think the guts spilling over, I think is original for the anime, but also
hmm
like just seeing like the like I mean its design is the same as it is from the manga, but just like the constant like dripping of blood from the face, as well as like the constant steaming of it, and like it's such a cool moment, like visuals wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were some like CGI moments with that with the Rodriguez Titan,
Mm.
but for the most part, when it's not like ugly CGI, it's really cool to see
mm.
and just is monstrosity. To this point, there's no monstrosity that tops this.
I agree. Absolutely. And plus it's the biggest Titan, like it's twice the size of the Colossal Titan.
Mm,
So it's just the biggest thing, yeah, that we've ever seen. So yeah, that as well just kind of makes it intimidating.
yeah, I think season 3, part 2, some of those like final moments for the characters like Erwin and Armin,
Hmm.
their final moments were beautifully animated. Like they took the time to give those characters justice. I felt like,
Absolutely.
uh, and yeah, so I just I mean Zeke throwing the rocks and killing so many of the Survey Corps members was beautifully done as well. But the final charge by Irvin is what I remember, and just I guess
Hmm.
there's a lot of things behind it, but the animation as well is just peak there.
It is. Yeah. And speaking of Erwin, when he was thinking back to his early days in the Survey Corps and kind of the reasons why he fights, and like that moment when we get like we get several just very brief little flashbacks and like cuts to his past. There was one where it looks like Levi is attacking him, but but Erwin kind of stops him by grabbing Levi's sword, or grabbing the blade of the sword. It's like just like a 3 second clip in
Mm.
this. This is not a change. Like this is also in the manga briefly. There's like one or two panels.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is neat about this in the anime is that they were actually able to reuse that clip from the No Regrets OVA that Wood had done a few years prior. So,
Right.
I double checked it just to make sure, and yeah, it is actually reused straight from that OVA. So that was pretty cool.
You want to know how I knew that? Is because the details and animation were different.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That too. Yeah, yeah. And and
See,
I
there is a difference.
there is, yeah, there absolutely is. And I think especially like, or at least to me, well, to me, or for the way I was able to notice it easily, at least, was the line work. It's like the thickness of the lines
Yeah, true.
was like
True.
I don't know if it's necessarily more
Maybe
detailed.
that's what it is.
Maybe
Yeah,
that
maybe
is it.
that's where I'm
Yeah,
getting caught up.
maybe. Although I mean, I don't know. However, I still wanted to just double check, and I was able to find like to pause both that episode and that episode from the No Regrets anime at the same time to actually have the same image, just
Perfect.
to be completely sure. But yeah, yeah. Um, by the way, in 2 months we're gonna be talking about the No Regrets manga on this podcast. So maybe we'll go a little more in depth then about all of that event, like everything that was going on.
I've never read No Regrets. I have no regrets for not reading No Regrets. Uh,
I mean, I guess that's good.
no, but I'm excited to do that eventually. I haven't seen the
Yes.
OVA either, so once
Mm.
I read that, I'll probably go back and just see all that beautiful animation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna want to rewatch it too. I think when we read that for the podcast.
And then I just got to give a shout out to Mikasa's facial expressions in these 2 seasons.
Mm.
The ones that are like super intense, like yeah, they were originally written by or drawn by Isayama, but I think Wit does a pretty good job at adapting them into the animated version. The death stare she gives to Bertolt, and then the just the uh, I don't it's a stare I can't really explain. Maybe jealousy when Aaron and Historia are talking to each other, and
Yeah.
I guess more or less flirting. Uh, yeah, she
Mm.
that's the face of a jealous girlfriend. But
It,
anyway,
yeah, I knew you were gonna point out those two specifically when you mentioned face expressions by her.
yeah.
But yeah, like those two do stand out. They really do.
There's also this moment where in season 3, part 2, where she fires a flare and she covers her ears.
Mm.
It's a random frame, but I've seen it like floating around on the internet.
Oh.
But it makes Mikasa look super, super cute. Like it's just
Ah.
like this super simple frame of her just shooting the flare, and
Ah.
it's just super cute. It was not meant to be that way, but it's a good one.
Nice. I mean, I can see it. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know exactly which one you talked about, but I can imagine it in my head, like as being pretty cute, probably.
I think that's all I have on the art style for the most part.
Cool. Me too. Then let's talk about the audio next, and we can start with the music. We can start with the openings and endings for the music specifically. Link to Horizon delivered another awesome opening for season 2. I think that one is a lot of people's favorite. I think,
Yeah,
or at
I
least a
think
lot of
so
people really
too.
like it.
It's iconic. People talk about this one and the first one in season 1 as
Mm.
the best Link to Horizon opening. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be different people who be like, "Oh no, season 1, part 2 is the best opening," or whatever.
Uh huh.
Um, but I think most part it's between those two,
Yeah,
and I gotta say, like I've been a bigger and bigger Sasageo fan over time.
I see.
It it it,
Fair.
it there's just something so I don't know, hype inducing and motivating about it that it just gets your blood pumping, and I really love it.
Right. Yeah. No, I really love it too. I think it's not far behind Guren no Yumiya for me, but they are, yeah, they're both definitely the two best Link to Horizon openings. However, Link to Horizon did the ending for season 3, part 1, and that one is maybe for me on par with Sasageo. I really love the ending they did there. Sadly, they didn't get to do
Yeah,
the opening for that arc, but at least I'm glad they were still there for the ending sequence.
yeah, no, the ending is fantastic. And we've already talked about like the storytelling and everything, but
Mm.
the song itself it kind of you know it paints a picture as well. And I mean, Link to Horizon is just really good at doing that in
Oh,
general.
right.
But it yeah, it's this beautiful children's choir, like much better than no offense, but season 2 endings children choir. I like that one's just kind of like the possessed demonic creepy movie, children's choir. Where this one is, well, it's still tragic, like it's kind of you know almost war related in a way, but it's still like it's a beautiful sound, and then just all the music and the tempo picks up, and the
Hmm.
the random opera lady going off
Yeah,
like
it's awesome. It's so hype.
it's great.
It's my
Yeah,
favorite. I will say, as far as just the music goes for any of the Attack on Titan ending sequences, this is my favorite song for an Attack on Titan ending.
yeah, it's so good. It's
Hmm.
so good. I think I still like just because of the connotation the first one, the first ending. I love that one a lot.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's a close second for me.
yeah. Yeah, but this one is Akatsuki no Requiem is very good too. I don't know. It goes back
Yeah.
and forth in my mind.
Yeah, no, but that's fair. Although, but speaking of the season 2 ending song that you mentioned before by Shinsei Kamate-chan, I could not stand it early, like when it was new. Like I could not
Uh-huh.
like every time, like as soon as an episode was done in season 2, I just completely immediately just exited, like, or just turned it off. Like I didn't want to listen to it. I despised it.
Hmm.
But now, like, I don't know what's happened to me, but I actually like it now. I don't love it,
Uh-huh.
but I enjoy it. I like it. I genuinely like it now, which is just such a strange journey, I think, or it's just a switch for
Yeah.
me.
I wondered if just over time if people would be more accepting of it. And And I actually wasn't like really turned off by it either. I mean, I still think the children's choir is creepy. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, but it's supposed to be, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't not I'm not disputing that fact,
Mm-mm.
but it wasn't as like ear bleeding as I felt like it was before. And there was
Good.
moments where it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't actually sound that sounds pretty good. And then it does some weird stuff. It's like, okay, never mind.
But I kind of, you know, I
It's like
have.
ebbs and flows for me.
Okay, fair, fair. I have just realized that well, for some reason, I've grown to appreciate those kind of weird stuff more as I don't know if it's because I've grown older or if it's well, I know it's probably just my taste in music has just probably just changed. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, just funny how I just could not stand it before, but now I genuinely like it. But yeah, then there's the opening song for season 3, part 1, and I know you like that one a lot.
I know, and you hate it.
I okay, maybe sort of almost hate it. It is my
What? I don't get it. It's
it,
so good.
it is my least favorite opening song, I will say. Um,
Ah,
I don't know. I think what I don't like about it is kind of I think and
I mean, it is
obviously this is
melodramatic,
all it is I guess a bit of
just
that
like the opening, like
kind of
just like the visuals.
right. Although I love the
It matches.
visuals. Yeah, I think to me, and I know this is very subjective, but to me, it's just kind of sounds maybe a little too kind of cheesy for me, or something like
I mean,
that.
that's what the visuals are. Like,
True, that's
that's what I
true.
just went through.
That is so true. Honestly, why do I like the cheesy visuals but not the cheesy music? I don't know. This is not. I'm just weird here, probably.
I mean, well, we all have different tastes, and that's fair. And like, yeah, I mean, I do think it's cheesy, in how it, in some of its lyrics, and how it's singing, and then then he's just like whispering or something like that. Like honestly, normally I probably wouldn't go out and search this kind of music. But for whatever reason, I think it has to do with the fact that associate with Attack on Titan. It has a special place in my heart, like,
Hmm,
I really enjoy it, and I like singing it. I think it's very beautiful. But
nice. I'm glad.
I do see the cheesiness, and it's definitely there. Um, it's a campy, melodramatic kind of
Mm,
thing. But now, do you not like the singer's voice, or is it
No,
really just the sound overall?
I think it's just kind of the style of it, like the genre of
Uh,
it, or what I don't know, like the sound of it, I guess. The composition maybe, but yeah, it's hard to put my finger on it.
I think a lot of people didn't like it at first because it was different from all the other openings. It was
Right.
slow paced.
Mm-hmm.
A kind of a ballad instead of this upbeat, patriotic kind of let's save humanity type of a
Yes.
thing.
Right. But I think a lot of people turned around on it eventually.
Yep, I that too.
It
Hmm.
seems like
Yeah,
these days a lot of people really like it. So I mean that's cool. I'm glad for them. But yeah, then yeah, Link to Horizon came back to do the opening for season 3 part 2, and
it's okay.
yeah, that one's kind of like it's hype and it's awesome. It makes me happy, but I don't think it's as special maybe as well. We mentioned season 1 part 1 and season two's openings are probably the most special Link to Horizon openings.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like a medley of all of their stuff put
Right.
into one, and they were I mean they were kind of doing that before, like
To a degree,
going
yeah.
back to certain themes in the new songs, but this one particularly, it feels like a mashup, really.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it has its own identity as well, I think, especially if you
yeah,
listen to the full version of the song. But yeah, like it definitely goes further in that direction than any of the other ones.
yeah, especially what they took for the opening itself. Yeah.
Right, for sure.
Yep.
And you mentioned earlier that season 3 part two's ending sequence that you thought it was elevated by the music.
Oh, you gonna disagree with me here?
I yes. I kind of dislike that song for similar reasons why I dislike Red Swan. Um
Man,
It's just kind of I guess the cheesiness of it. Although maybe some people wouldn't call it cheesy. I don't know, and maybe I'm using the wrong words here, but it doesn't appeal to me, that kind of music. That said, it didn't ruin the visuals for me. The visuals still affect me when I get to see them. I just don't really appreciate the song.
Well, that hurts.
Sadly, yeah. I mean, I wish I appreciated the song. I wish I could have those visuals elevated even further by the music, but yeah, sadly that's not the case.
Now I gotta like re-listen to it just to like maybe I'm crazy, but I
No.
like it.
No, no, no. Like you should enjoy it. Like I don't want to take enjoyment away from anybody that enjoys something. I just personally don't, really.
Oh, what? Oh, okay, I am appalled that you dislike this song.
Really?
How? It's so the piano, and then I think he has a really great voice. He has great control.
I mean, it's a good production. I guess I just don't like the general kind of genre or sound of it. It's like that's it. It's nothing personal.
Oh, I know it's a personal.
And I can't help it. I wish I enjoyed it more than I did too. You know.
Nah, you can't help your taste. That's fine. I
Yeah.
don't know, like and some people, my favorite song are probably people's least favorite songs. I totally get that. I guess I don't know. I just never thought that someone would, unless they were. I just think of songs I know you like.
Mm. Ah.
It doesn't strike me as a song that. I mean, well, for example, I know that you obviously you didn't like Red Swan. Like
Mm.
we've established that. But I don't put Red Swan and this song in the same vein, and yet you use the same word
Ah.
to describe them both. So I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, I just it didn't feel like a song that would be one you would dislike.
Mm.
But
Well,
to be fair, I probably have things that I like or dislike that is strange, not strange, but
no, but like it can be
inconsistent.
right. Yeah. Like, well, I've noticed at least with my taste in fiction, I've noticed that it's like it can be really just unpredictable, and maybe that the same thing goes
Mm,
for my taste in music, and maybe a lot of people's taste in various things is
yeah,
perhaps unpredictable in a lot of ways.
yeah, that's true.
But I guess that's all of the openings and endings for this part of the anime. Uh, Moving into the soundtrack itself, like the background music and stuff in the actual episodes, of course, Sawano continues delivering, and
Absolutely.
it uses a lot of the tracks that he made for season one, and but while at the same
Hmm.
time incorporating new tracks that are made for these seasons specifically. I don't have really a lot of gripes except for one for the music
Oh,
here. Is the music that plays when they're battling Kenny inside of the Crystal Catacombs. There's like this rap music.
really? Oh, you didn't like that?
I don't think it fit at all.
Yeah, okay. I mean, but here's the thing. Like Sawano has been using all sorts of different like genres and techniques
True.
like in his songs. And yeah, the rap is more modern, but I feel like it still fit because is so experimental. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I
Okay,
do see
that's
what you're
fair.
saying. Like
Mm.
that is a thought that came to my mind, but I don't know. I kind of liked it. And I don't really listen to rap. So there you
Nice,
go.
nice. Yeah, I mean, because that song is, I mean, it's a relatively like it's a longer track, and it has pieces with rap and has like instrumental pieces in it, parts of it as well. And I think
Mhm.
the instrumental parts that are part like in that scene sometimes I think fits well, but whenever the rapping comes in, like I'm like, ah, no, I wish that hadn't come in there.
Fair enough. I could respect that.
It's good music though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite song out of the ones that were introduced here in seasons two and three?
A favorite song.
If anything sticks out to you.
I mean, I have some favorite moments. Like Sasha making her stand was great.
Oh yeah, right. I can't remember exactly the music then, but yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So some of these, I am not gonna be able to tell you the exact music for these, but
Fair,
when you're
fair.
watching it for yourself or you go back to see those, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's good.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
the tower when they're up on the tower and um, Emir has her big reveal there. That I think the music was pretty good. Well,
Mm,
not
mm.
just that, but when the tower comes crashing down and
Yeah.
the music's really great. And then the big reveal of Reiner and Bertolt, like that
Mm,
is amazing.
it is, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yes, yes, it's so perfect for that scene. So perfect.
It really is. Uh, Last episode, season 2, I already talked about that. I actually wrote down Crystal Catacombs, which the fight with Kenny in the crystal
Okay.
area. So I liked it.
Good, good. I'm
Enough to
glad.
write it down. But I do see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. About it not fitting and yeah. When Historia smacks the syringe and just goes on her
Mm,
tirade, like the music was surprisingly really good. Like yeah, let's
yes,
go.
absolutely. So such a hype moment.
And so many moments in season 3, part 2. Like oh gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my final thoughts on each individual season at the end, but the everything just comes together in season 3, part 2, including the music. And
Yeah.
I feel like almost every single one is nailed perfectly. Even the use of no sound.
Oh yeah. Oh
It,
yeah.
in Midnight Sun,
Mm,
they just take out the music entirely in some moments,
yeah.
and then they bring it back at the right time, and it's great. It's such a great
Mm,
direction.
yes. No. Absolutely. I agree. Um, I will say my favorite new soundtrack song by Sawano that was made for seasons 2 and 3 combined. My favorite one is I'm pretty sure it was new for season 3 part 2, and it
Mm.
plays, or at least the two most notable places where it plays in the background, at least that I noticed, is first when Armin is being scorched by the colossal titan,
Yep, yep,
that
yep.
moment, and then it plays again in the scene when Sergeant Gross talks to Grisha, and then the owl shoves him down into the sand dunes.
Oh yes,
Like it's
that's yeah.
the same melody. It's like do 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 do. Like it's such a good, like it's a pretty simple melody, but it's so powerful. So it has
Yeah.
like such a good effect on the scenes where they use it, and it's maybe my favorite Sawano track, actually, just out of all the stuff he's done.
That's good. Like, I respect that. Mad respect. Like, I think I may even agree. It's so
Nice.
good.
Yeah, it really is, right? So, yeah, yeah. Great stuff. Anything else on the music?
I don't think I have anything specific. I mean, at the end of season 3, part 1, when Irvin is yelling, you know, having like cheering and or pumping the people up as the people send them off. The
Mm,
music there it was great
yes,
as well. But
absolutely.
anyway,
Yeah,
that's all I have.
great. Then let's talk about some of the voice performances that stuck out to us. And I'll just pick up right there, actually, since you just mentioned the Irvin scene, or the music that plays when he's standing on the wall and
Hmm.
roaring it. And I just wanted to really just bring some focus onto that roar itself is just so emotional, and it always gets me emotional when I hear him scream there. And same goes for his charge against the Beast Titan a little later on, as well as the speech that he has leading up to that charge. Like yeah,
Yeah.
really that entire like his entire role there is like he just delivers all of those lines so well as Erwin there.
Yeah, he really has his shining moment. I mean, you know, season 2 he loses his arm, but uh,
Mm,
he does a fantastic job there. But it's season
yes.
3 where his voice role just goes through the roof for me. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, like but as you said, yeah, when he like orders everyone to advance and like shouting like to advance in season 2,
Hmm.
like that is also such a hype moment and so well performed.
Right. But yeah, my favorite part is when he convinces the last of the Survey Corps members to do one final push towards the Beast Titan, and
Yeah.
I mean he could convince anybody to do it with that speech. Like,
Right? Yeah. Yeah,
my
like yeah, because
gosh,
like that is like in the manga itself, it's already a powerful moment, but the voice performance just elevates it, and
right?
I'm so happy
Hmm.
that the voice actor, I sorry I don't know his name, but he's able to deliver that so well, and it's so important that he does it so well, just because it is such an important moment, and yeah, I am not disappointed whatsoever. But going back a little bit for the voice performances, the scene where with Reiner, Bertolt, Eren, and Ymir when they were at the edge of the forest, kind of taking a break. Um, that scene in general, I think, has beautiful voice performances from everybody. I guess Bertolt not so much because he's kind of quiet throughout that, but the other three, Ymir, Eren, and Reiner, they all are bringing their A game there.
Yeah,
And it's yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite scenes in general, and I'm so happy that they all just nailed it.
absolutely, fantastic stuff. And Bertolt has a lot of good voice acting. Well, in season 2 and then season 3, like in part 2, he
Mm,
has a lot of speaking roles, and
true.
I was impressed with what the voice actor was doing. Like
Yeah.
I remember I don't remember being this impressed with his emotion and just the
Hmm.
way he did his lines. So
Yeah, yeah, like in season 3 when he just kind of switches, and like he suddenly acts really confident and talks
yeah,
in a
that
completely
one.
different way. Like yeah, that scene, because you wouldn't exactly expect that from him. And obviously, that just shows that he's a multi-sided voice actor. Like he can play, you know, all like both types, like both an introverted character and someone who speaks his mind and is way more kind of outspoken. And obviously he needed to be able to do that. And it's so cool. Like I think we talked about this last month when like they cast all these characters without necessarily knowing that they would have to do these more advanced voice lines later on, but they were still able to pull it off. And I think it's so admirable and so awesome that they still make it work.
Indeed.
But in my opinion, Bertel's strongest vocal performance was in season 2 when he's inside of Reiner's hands, and he has that monologue kind of where he says, "Someone please find us."
Uh,
That moment is my favorite
yeah, that's true.
voice performance by him.
It's pretty good.
Mm,
I mean, and when Armin taunts him and then he kind of screams back, I mean, that was pretty good too, like pretty
right,
emotional. So
definitely.
yeah.
That scene, as I said earlier, has a lot of great stuff. Like there's a lot to give kind of praise to in that scene. There's
Yeah.
also Mikasa, when she catches up to them and she's on Reiner as he's running, and she's talking to Historia and also kind of to Emir as well. But I think she's mostly talking
Mm-hmm.
to Historia about kind of like don't get in my way, and like yeah, she will do whatever it takes to get Eren back. That is such a good voice performance as well by her.
Agreed.
Oh, and Eren's breakdown after Hannes dies is also one of
Oh,
the
oh my
strongest vocal
gosh.
performances I've seen. Like
I mean,
such.
it's so good, it's become a meme, and I love it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that is how good it is.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, it really.
it's fantastic.
Uh huh. Man, like Yuki Kaji is such an A tier voice actor. Like,
Really though.
oh my gosh,
Gosh.
he can do so much.
And and before that, when they're in the trees talking to Reiner, I mean, Reiner
Mm,
has his he has a lot of good moments, and
yeah.
that's one for me where he's going into this. He's lost in his not his warrior mentality, but the soldier mentality,
Right.
and
Mm.
he's going on and on and on, and then you just eventually he snaps back into it, but you hear that in his voice and his
Mm-hmm.
performance and everything. It's just
Oh,
obviously it's all we've read it before, but hearing it voiced is what makes it even better, I think.
yeah, I agree completely. He does it so well. Like it, and he wouldn't have needed to do it that well for it to still be good, but he went that extra distance to make it just outstanding.
Yeah, I agree. And I
Mm,
think one of the reasons why I love the episode Midnight Sun,
mm.
and also Hero is, as we mentioned, like just the vocal performance that were there. I mean, we
Oh
have
yeah.
Irvin and Levi, but Armin and Aaron, um, they all just had fantastic uh, vocal performances in that episode. But then in Midnight Sun,
Mm.
just so many people are really shine in that. You can't really pick one and say, "Wow, you're the best." Like
Yeah,
they're just all
yeah.
so good.
I agree. I think if I would pick two, I would say Aaron and Mika's as voice actors
Yeah,
for the Midnight
they
Sun
did a pretty good
episode.
job.
I think
Yeah,
or to me at least, they stuck out a little more than the rest of them.
fair enough. Yeah,
But
I can agree
still,
with that.
mm. um, Historia had a lot of great voice performances throughout.
Oh,
I mean,
true.
obviously,
Yes.
especially seasons 2 and 3, part 1, obviously were kind of her seasons. But I think my favorite moment, and this is also one of my favorite moments in the series as a whole is when she turns against her dad in the crystal catacombs,
Yep.
and she goes to set Aaron free, and like that whole speech that she has there, basically, it's just it's so well performed. I feel I've said that so many times. I feel like so well performed. It's so well performed, and that it's so well performed. But it's true. There's a lot of good performances here.
Right. Absolutely. They brought their A game.
Yeah.
And then Grisha's performance. Did we mention Grisha already?
No, we haven't. But yes, I agree.
I think he shows some of the most emotion he has ever shown in the manga, or in the anime up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him screaming for his wife, for his comrades, and just about his whole situation. It's powerful. Like it's almost to the point where it's like you could almost say it's too much, but I think he does a good job of not going over the top. Like
right.
He's like at the point. Like he's almost jumping over, but no, he just he nails it right at the before it's too much. And I like that.
I think that's a really good way to describe it. Actually, I agree completely. And yeah, it is especially that scene with him and the owl on the wall there. It's so there's so many good moments. But anything else on the voice acting?
I think I've really touched on everybody that I feel like I should.
Cool. Then I only have a few things on the sound effects, which I think the fact that I actually only have two little things I wanted to touch on. It means that the sounds overall are just so good that I didn't really necessarily think to point them out. They were just so natural. And honestly, neither of the things I have are bad things anyway. So I only have good things to say. But the first thing is the sounds of the armored titan's armor. I like how the sounds of that were used, like when things hit the armor, when the armor shatters and stuff like that, like those sounds, as well as sometimes when Reiner moves his titan body, you can kind of hear the armor plates kind of rattle against each other in a way that I think just adds to the detail of the soundscape. Kind of, I love that.
Yeah.
Do you get anything on the sound effects?
No, I don't have anything specifically. It was all solid stuff. I think it was pretty consistent with what we heard in season 1.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of similar stuff. Then my last little thing is just the the little thing where when the Beast Titan is throwing rocks toward the Cervicore, and there is one part where he throws a rock into a bell tower, and the rocks hit the bell, and you just hear a bell sound. I just think it's a nice little touch that just kind of makes the scene a little richer, kind of. But yeah, I guess that's all on the audio as a whole.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Then moving on to the changes, everything or not everything, but the stuff that we want to point out. The stuff we want to point out that's changed compared to the manga. They added some pretty disturbing daddy issues to Nanaba's character when she was being eaten by the Titans. Like, why did they feel the need to do that, I wonder?
I don't know.
Because that was not in the manga at all.
They were feeling pretty dark. Hey, what if we were to add this? Oh, that was so juicy.
I mean, it really is dark. Like, it's really disturbing and kind of unsettling. Absolutely.
So during Sasha's flashback, when she's talking to Krista and Ymir, there's a moment where they're in the background and then two characters pass in the foreground, and that's not in the manga. It's not in the manga, and the two characters pass are Mikasa and I guess I can't remember her name, but the girl that had some crush on the guy, and she was trying to revive him with CPR.
Hana, I think is her name.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was her, who she was talking to. Anyway, they just walk across the screen, and Mikasa's in her, like, workout gear.
Oh.
Like, her outfit.
I don't think I noticed this.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I would notice.
Oh, of course you would.
But it's not in the manga, and it's just like, why?
I mean, that's nice.
Just random Mikasa fans. I guess they were trying to give some life to the situation, or to the flashback. You know? It's like, oh, this is this is actually other people are here too.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I mean, I
but
appreciate that. That's cool.
yeah, I do too.
Like when they put in effort to do to make something that they really wouldn't have had to, but they did it anyway.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
nice.
I can appreciate that. I guess where I where I'm thankful but also confused is why they put Mikasa in her workout outfit when no one else everyone else is in uniform and she's just like has her top on. All right.
Well, she
I
probably
mean,
just came out of workout or something, or she was on her way to it,
I
you know.
guess. I guess so.
That's pretty funny.
Something that I noticed between the season 2, season 3 versus season 1
Hmm?
is there less recaps.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yes, yes. Season one had a lot of that.
it had a lot of recaps, and that could turn off some people, really.
Honestly, yeah. Mm.
I mean, we've already discussed the pacing in general of season 1, but season 2, season 3 didn't have a lot of recaps, and I think that helped with the pacing in season 2. Season 3, part 1 is a whole nother mess. That takes the opposite of season 1. It goes too fast in a lot of ways. Like
Uh huh.
um, they just cram a lot of stuff and really kind of uh, teleport to plot point with not enough fluidity or enough coherence. I feel like, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I understand, but it's too bad they couldn't take more time to really build it up in various ways.
Man, yeah, I
But
hate
then,
that.
but,
I hate they did that.
right.
But I'll talk. I'll talk a little bit on that later. Go on with your thing. Sorry.
Well, then part two is just basically the perfect combination. It has perfect pacing in almost every single way,
Hmm.
and I think that it doesn't really have. Well, I mean, it has some like brief recaps, but overall, it's just a better paced product. I feel like.
Okay, yeah, I'll say in terms of recaps, yeah, it's an improvement from season one. Because I mean, because I remember I looked some of the episodes of season one, like it would take like 4 minutes before the episode would get to actual new content. Like if you included like the opening sequence,
Right.
include it plus the recap stuff, it would be like 4 minutes sometimes, until the episode got to the actual new content, and like that's ridiculous. Obviously, yeah, season two doesn't do that, so that's definitely an improvement. However, I still feel like season two does a decent amount of, well, I would call it filler. The
Yeah, there's some
like
filler stuff.
which
Yeah.
most of it I personally didn't like. One
Oh,
example
really?
is Historia and Ymir's flashback to the snow training. They added like this whole kind of side plot about Aaron and the others wanted to go out and find them.
Oh, yes, yes,
Like
yes. I know. I did not like
I
that.
thought
Yeah.
that was totally redundant.
Yeah. Not
And
needed.
yeah, also the flashback to when they figure out that Reiner and Bertolt were, well, with Annie. That was also extended in a way that I didn't think really was necessary. I think it just kind of took us out of that moment that we were in too much, like for too long. Similarly to the snow training one.
Which moment is this?
It's
Which
because
moment
it
is?
kind of it's after, I think it's right after they say that, like right after Reiner says I'm the Armor Titan and he's the Colossal Titan. There's a brief
Hmm.
flashback in well in the manga it's brief. In the anime I think it's a little bit too long. Where kind of the Cervicore people together are kind of discussing like, or kind of they have reason to suspect Reiner and Bertolt for being those Titans. And that, yeah, there's that scene which was extended in the anime, which I didn't like.
So okay, so it's Aaron's like, oh, what am I gonna do? And then he has his flashback.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
yeah, like he's talking
Okay,
with
okay,
Hanji and the others like about
right. Oh, okay. So, for some reason, I thought it was like a flashback that Reiner, Bertolt, and
oh,
Annie were having.
no,
And
no.
I was so confused.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's another example of something that I think they kind of just dragged out too much. And another one is when Armin and Mikasa are with Hannes after Eren got kidnapped, when they're on the wall. There's this whole flashback sequence to when they were kids, which
Mm-hmm.
is not even in the manga. Like, or well, there is like one
It
panel. There's
is.
a single
Yeah, it's just a
panel,
panel.
but they made an entire like kind of side story out of that, which I also thought just took us out of the story for an
Okay,
unnecessary reason.
don't hate me. I actually liked it.
Okay, okay, good.
I I thought it was a good, I guess, background to their relationship with Hannes. Just how
Okay.
they really were kind of good friends. He was a older brother type figure to them, and well, older uncle, I guess. But you know what I
Mm.
mean, like an adult to them, and I just kind of like to see it. I think it also emphasized how everyone was also getting away from Mikasa, no matter what she did. Um, and I don't know, like I felt like it added things. I did note that it was definitely extended um,
I mean,
and whatnot, but
it's very much exciting because it really just one panel with nothing, with
right,
no dialogue or anything in it. I
I
think.
totally get that. But I kind of liked it. It's one of the filler things that I actually did like.
Cool, cool, good. I'm happy for you. Yeah, it's just for me. It's just another one of those things that for to me just felt like it just kind of it was a diversion that to me was just a little bit annoying. Uh,
Really? Okay.
but if you like that, then what do you what's your opinion on the fact that they moved Emir's Marley backstory to season two when if they would have gone according to the manga, it would have appeared at the end of season three through Historia's letter. Well, the letter to Historia that she gave. What do you think of the fact that they put that flashback in season two already?
Maybe controversial, but I think it works well in season two.
Okay.
I can't say if it's better, because in the manga you get Historia getting that story for herself, so that's nice for her to read it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like its placing in the anime a lot because I think it ends Emir's character well, and it's a great moment for that season, I think.
Fair. I can see I can see that, and I actually have another friend who has basically that same opinion on it as well. And like I can understand it.
Hmm.
I personally don't like it there though for a few reasons. First of all, it's kind of like the other things. I think it kind of takes us out of the action uh too much. Where like in the manga, obviously that's not what we don't get that backstory there. So the story just
Hmm.
continues without it, which I think it does well. Like that we don't need to have it there personally. But another reason I just think it makes I think it's unnecessarily confusing to get that information that early.
You think
Because
so?
there's so much we don't understand yet. There's so much that when we get it at the point we get it in the manga, obviously we've gotten the entire information from the basement already, and
Hmm.
there is well, in my opinion, and also thinking about how Isayama kind of wrote it as it is, I guess he intended
Hmm.
for us to know about Marley and all of that when we learned about Ymir's backstory fully like that. And I think that's kind of so that's I think that's how he made it. Like that's how he wrote it. So not having that previous knowledge when we learn about her backstory, to me, it's just confusing. And I didn't give me as much as I would have liked. Like it did, yeah. I don't know. Plus, I think it uh, like the contents of her letter to Historia are elevated thanks to learning Emir's full backstory right then, and not learning it like two arcs earlier.
Yeah, that I do agree with that. Yeah, I do
Mm,
agree with that.
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to do it in a perfect world, I think it would be perfectly uh, adapted in the way that Isayama intended. However, I do think it works, but I see what you're saying though about people being confused.
Mm. I know I definitely was, and I wouldn't have been if I had known the Marley stuff.
I think for me, because uh, as we've said before, season two is what pushed us to start reading the manga
Mm.
um, at whatever point. And for me, I don't think I was as confused as I was intrigued. And I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, I didn't understand who these people were exactly, or who Emir was entirely, but I thought that was just part of the mystery, and I thought it like
Right.
really just
Mm.
built up on all that.
That's
Um,
fair.
yeah,
Mm.
but as I've said, it's supposed to be in the context of we know the truth now, And this is what Ymir's story is actually. This is who she is. So I think there's benefits to both, and I don't think the season 2 placement takes away from Amir's backstory. It takes away from her final words to Historia, which yeah, that is sad, but I don't think it's like terrible. That's where I'll
Mm,
end, and I mean you can say whatever you want, but
right.
that's where I'll end my thoughts.
That's fair. That is fair. I guess my just very last thing on that is I think in addition to it kind of elevating the letter to Historia as if, when as it comes at the same time, I also think it's nice to kind of, well, since season two is like, well, Ymir is like one of the biggest characters in season two already. So there's already a
Hmm.
lot of content on her, and so I thought it was nice to kind of, I guess, as the manga does, it to, well, in a way, spread out her focus a little bit to so we get her
Oh,
backstory
okay.
like 2 arcs later, uh, in a way to remember her more at a later point in time, even though she's out of the story at that point. Um, but yeah, it's just a small thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, just in general, season two, I do think it dragged on or kind of
Really?
unnecessarily
Huh.
extended things in ways that I didn't love. It's better than season one in terms of this.
Okay.
It
Okay.
absolutely, but it's not ideal, is my opinion on
Yeah.
season two.
Yeah. I could agree with the ideal thing. I actually went away from season 2 a lot more excited and satisfied than I
Mm.
thought I'd be. Like I remember enjoying obviously when I saw it before, I was like I want more, you know. Um, but going into it, I thought, oh yeah, it's not going to be as pretty to look at. It's
Oh
not going to
yeah.
be as consistent, and you know, I'm not going to be as excited or whatnot. But I was actually really proven wrong, at least for me.
Mm.
I liked it a lot. It does have those filler episodes that are a bit much, but even in the canon stuff, or sorry, the canon stuff is not uh, pulled out. I feel like, or stretched out and prolonged, unlike season 1 was a lot of, not a lot, but well,
Mm.
maybe I can't say a lot,
Well,
like season 1 was.
right. No, but yeah, I think season one, yeah, they did it more, but I do still think season two did it in, well, a little too more, a little too much than I had wanted. But then comes season two part, or sorry, then comes season three part one, which is really, and I think you kind of touched on it before, it's kind of the opposite,
Yeah.
where, and I absolutely hate this. I mean, I think I've said maybe at some point before on the podcast that I'm kind of disappointed in the anime for reworking the first part of season three. Like, yeah, season three, part one.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of this stuff is cut out, especially early on, and a lot of the stuff that still remains is just restructured and put in a different order than it is in
Yeah.
the royal government arc in the manga. I genuinely think they rushed the start of this arc just on purpose because they wanted to get to Kenny as soon as possible. Well, to that,
Yeah.
to his, his appearance on the rooftop.
Yeah.
But I think the story suffered from rushing it like that. Kenny
Agreed.
makes his iconic anime appearance by the end of the first episode of that season. If they had gone at a more similar pace as they did for the first two seasons, and actually adapted the story in kind of more in a more accurate order, then
Mm-hmm.
that scene wouldn't have happened until like episode 4 or 5 or something like that. So yeah, I think that just goes to show just how rushed they did that entire first episode, as well as a lot of those first episodes, but especially the first episode, just because there's so much buildup that went missing that I think was
Right.
important, so important in the manga, and like I think the manga even shows us Kenny in at least one scene before that scene on the roof even happens. Like that isn't actually the first time the audience sees that character, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
I think they show Kenny in the anime in that episode, like they show him like briefly, and then they see him on the rooftop.
Yeah, like, but yeah, it's just a very very brief little thing. But I think I think he
Yeah.
has some lines or something in the manga, not with the main characters, but like in some little scene. And I think Reeves dies before Kenny appears on the rooftop in the manga.
Yeah.
Like he kills
Yeah.
Reeves. Like we see him do that.
Well, Reeves was like totally done dirty in the anime. Like his character is
Yeah.
basically he's just a dead body for people to get mad at. Whereas
Uh-huh.
in the manga, I felt like they really kind of gave him a redemption arc in a way. You know, he's not so bad. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
a good guy.
So, yeah. There's a lot of stuff I just hate how they rushed that. Because it really shows, and yeah, as I said, all that build up really is important, and it doesn't make
Hmm.
sense to me the way they did it in the anime. Like the story just kind of falters.
It starts off in an odd place, and
Yeah.
you feel like, did I miss something? Like, what?
Yeah. It's like suddenly Historia is like super important, and it's
Right.
like sure I can get it to a degree, but like that important? Because in the manga, it's because they've found out that the Rice family is the true royal family. They've already found that out by that time when she gets kidnapped, but they don't actually know that already when she gets kidnapped in the anime. So it's like
Hmm.
all messed up.
Yeah, it's a shame that they kind of mixed it up like they did and really rushed it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I understand for their scheduling purposes and what they were going for, but it's a shame, especially when before this they really weren't skipping over things. Yes, they were changing the order of stuff, but they didn't really skip over stuff.
Right. Exactly.
Uh, but I guess they felt like in order to, because I mean, they mostly go over a lot of the plot points. They just do it in a different order. Yeah, there are some that they totally skip,
Yeah.
but they mostly cover everything. It's just they wanted Kenny in the very first episode for whatever reason. Like they felt like they needed to start off strong there, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Like I can understand it. Like I guess to get people hooked, but it ultimately was a bad move in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
Another thing they cut a bit, and this isn't like too big of a gripe, but it's still a little bit of a gripe. When Hanji is doing these experiments and like when basically training Eren and testing
Oh
his
yeah.
Titan to see what he can do and stuff. Uh, there's a lot of little stuff from that were cut out from the manga or from the anime, sadly. Especially like my favorite part from that is in the manga when Eren's Titan is like building the structure for like a little house, and it's like so cute, like so charming little bit from that was sadly not at all in the anime.
Hmm.
Oh well.
Yeah. Another thing with Eren, but also with Historia, they because they changed the sequence of events and really take things out. There's a few scenes with them that they had to condense in, or at least just like basically summarize in some dialogue
Yeah.
when they're in the kitchen working together. That they have like a similar conversation. But in the manga, they were supposed to have a moment where they're like sitting in front of a window,
Mm.
and they just talk about each other's personality and whatnot, and they kind of have a good bonding moment there. It's a shame that they weren't able to fit that in there, and I think that would have really uh, help expound Historia's character, but also um, give Eren and Historia a kind of friendship that really wasn't there for most of the anime up until that point. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they hardly ever interacted.
True.
But hey, for the shipping purposes, like I mean, I guess I'm okay with it. Don't get carried away.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Then there was the in season 3 part 2 there was the Titan with the long face carrying the cargo on its back. In the manga, it looks very different from how it does in the anime, and that has to
Yeah.
do with, without going into anything too deep here, but Isayama changed the design of this Titan in the coming arc in the in the manga, and so it's a good thing I think that the anime, well, they were flexible enough to go with the updated design right off the bat for
Yeah,
that Titan. So
for
that's
sure.
very nice.
Can I just say that the Beast Titan looks a lot better in the anime than some of the first panels in the manga
Oh,
when the Beast Titan shows up?
yeah, that might
I
be true.
I mean, yeah, everyone knows that Isayama's illustration and artwork was not the best at the very beginning, and he improved as
Mm.
he went. But when you first see the Beast Titan, it does not look very good. It
Ah,
looks
yeah.
kind of rudimentary, to be honest.
Right.
To those who have not read that far in the manga, it does get better. Like he does get really good at drawing the
Hmm.
Beast Titan. I actually think even in uh, Return to Shiganshina, he had improved in his drawing of the Beast Titan.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, I honestly,
yeah,
I think over the course of the Uprising arc or the Royal Government arc, aka season 3, part 1, I think over the course of that in the manga, he improved like a lot.
yeah,
Like
I
comparing the
agree.
beginning to the end of it. So yeah. Mm.
For sure. But that is a difference, like how the Beast Titan looked when it first appeared in the anime versus then. But in Shiganshina, it got more consistent, and in general, they just did a fantastic job adapting the Beast Titan and its
Mm.
long, hairy arms.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally did. In the manga, when Levi had Zeke pinned down after he had basically defeated his Titan, and he had Zeke pinned down, and he
Hmm.
had like his sword in his mouth, and before the other Titan comes and ruins Levi's plans there. In the manga, the sword, yeah, it goes into Zeke's mouth, but then it actually goes out of his eye as well. Like, and I love how gross that is in the manga, because like the sword goes into the mouth and then exits through the eye, through one of the eyes.
Yeah,
It's really kind of revolting, but I love it. Sadly, obviously, they didn't really go as far in the in the anime.
I thought they were gonna do it,
Right, yeah, it looks like
but
he might be like pushing a little for it, but they don't quite go
yeah,
there.
they don't quite. Yeah, not
Yeah,
quite.
but I mean, it still looks good in the anime, but I think it would have been even better if they had gone all the way.
Yeah, when they get into the basement, Mikasa has a memory where she gives Grisha a plate of food and a drink,
Yeah.
and then it's still there, and she tips over the drink, and she remembers that, but that's where she finds the keyhole. In the manga, she just is like, searching around the desk and feels the keyhole.
Uh-huh.
I I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I like her like having that special memory of Grisha. Sure, that's nice.
Mm.
But it's kind of funny that he just like left his cup and plate. Is like, what a slob. Like, that's her memory. It's like, Doctor Jaeger, he was such a slob. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is. But on that, like, yeah, I mean that added flashback, I guess, is cool. Like, I don't mind it really. Like, I wouldn't. I don't love it, but I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't think it's needed. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm kind of neutral on it. Like, I think,
yeah.
but like an addition filler, I'd say that I actually do like that's around there is when they're walking to Aaron's house, and in the
Yes.
manga that's just happens very quickly, but in the anime they added this whole thing where they're walking through the streets and they're reminiscing about everything in the town, and they see like themselves as young, and they see his mother and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I actually really loved that addition. It's like the one extended scene, I guess, in the anime that I actually really like.
Oh. uh, it's funny because I thought I would be the more negative one in
Oh.
terms of these filler stuff, but
Oh.
no, I agree. I agree with you that it's a fantastic extension and it gets you choked up. Really, just
Mm,
you can really feel uh, the same emotions that it's going through their minds at that time.
yeah. Yeah, it's so good. Then there's a little retcon near the end of the season, and I think this was a retcon that Isayama requested, if I'm not mistaken. When they're
Oh,
like, it's after they get back from Shiganshina and they have this meeting, I guess political meeting or whatever, but they're all there, or well, everyone except for Sasha because she's injured, and Aaron has this kind of thought monologue where he's thinking about how well, in the manga he's thinking that if he would consume a titan with royal blood, then he would gain access to the full potential of the founding titan. But they changed it to,
ah,
instead of consuming a titan with royal blood, it would be touching a titan with royal blood.
right,
And
yeah.
so that's how they did. That's how it is in the anime, which is, well, it's good because that's how Isayama wanted it to be, and that's how it's, yeah, supposed to be lore wise. So it's kind of funny reading that part in the manga these days because that's technically all wrong now. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm obviously glad that they were flexible enough to change that in the anime.
Help me understand. He says that he doesn't want Historia to transform into a Titan
Mm,
so that he would access the powers. Like he doesn't want the military doing that.
yeah.
But it's only if Historia was a Titan that he'd be able to access the powers. It's not just
Yeah.
touching her in general. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
she needs to both be a royal blood and be a Titan.
gotcha.
Like Dinah
Okay,
was a
right,
Titan and
right,
a royal
right,
blood.
right.
So yeah, like yeah, she doesn't necessarily need to be a Titan shifter, but like
No,
she
no,
she,
no, right, right.
but yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the only that's like the only retcon I think that's really happened. Like at least story retcon. Like, there's been like visual retcons as we said with that Mule Titan. Um, but like yeah, this is like the only story retcon I think it's had that's ever happened in Attack on Titan.
Hmm.
But yeah, the season 3 part 2, or well, the Return to Shiganshina arc, is in my opinion the best adaptation that Wit ever did for Attack on Titan. Like in terms of
Yeah.
all the arcs, it's the perfect pacing, first of all, and I
Hmm.
think that, I mean, to me that has a lot of value because,
Yeah.
as I said before, I think both of the first two seasons were too slow, and then season 3 part 1 was too fast. But I think, yeah, season 3 part 2 was pretty much perfect in terms of pacing, and it was all like, sure, the animations and some stuff here and there may have been maybe better quality in some of the previous seasons, but it doesn't ruin it for me that much. And so I think that part is the one that I think what did the best.
Yeah. I'm gonna say right now, I think season 3, part 2 is a 10 out of 10.
Oh, nice.
Like it is. I You don't get much better. I mean, obviously the story has a great weight on that. I mean, that's just going to be the case either way. So
Mm.
kudos to Isayama making an incredible arc.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but I think it's also the adaptation, the pacing, the vocal performances, the music,
Mm.
and even the animation. I think the animation is really good.
It is, yeah.
Obviously, there
Mm.
is a difference between season one and this, or I say obviously, but I feel like there is a difference.
No, but it is. It is. I
Um,
think so too.
but I think just everything else that goes into it just elevates it above really the other seasons for me.
Yeah.
I put season two as a 9. I think that's what I did. Season one is a 9. I think
Mm.
they're equal in terms. I think the pacing is a little better in season two, but the animation is not quite, or the production is not quite as good as season one, so it evens out. And then
Mm.
season three, part one is, I don't know. I debate between an 8 and 9 because there's really some fantastic stuff, but the pacing
Mm.
is really jangled up, and especially the beginning of part one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10 maybe.
Fair.
Um,
Fair.
but anyway, the reason why I say that is just to show that I think out of all these Wits adaptations, their best one was the final one. I mean, it helps
Yeah.
again what they adapted, but it was just phenomenally done.
Right. No, I mean, yeah, it definitely helps that that arc was their last arc because it is a beautiful, fantastic arc. But
Yeah.
yeah, for them to end on top like that, at least according to both of us, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, anything else on changes that you got?
No, I don't think so.
Then I guess we're done with pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Next month we're gonna finish our anime rewatch, and as I mentioned briefly earlier, the month after that we're moving on to talk about the No Regrets manga.
I'm gonna miss Wit, but
Yeah, fair.
you know, I I respect Wit's creativity, their wanting to make it their own, as
Yeah.
I've stated in the previous episode, and there's something to be said for that. And then also their animation is hard to beat. Like those ODM moments and those some of those Titan fights were phenomenal, fantastic. It's a shame that we couldn't have that same consistency throughout the entire series. But as we'll talk about in next season, sometimes change it can be good and it sets a
Mhm.
different tone and whatnot. But I
Right.
think having these 3 seasons and ending off on the Return to Shiganshina arc, it just is a great ending to the Wit adaptation.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's fitting.
Hmm.
And I after I finished watching season 3 earlier today, I since I watched it on Crunchyroll, I saw like all of the thumbnails for the season 4 episodes after I was done watching season 3, and it just made me really excited to watch season 4 now. So I'm very excited to get into that and to talk about that with you next time. But yeah, with all that said, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by either rating our show on the podcast platforms or subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. If you liked this episode, please share it with anyone you think might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Season 4, the final season. Bye-bye!
Final season's a lie. See you later! Maybe we should take that out. That may be a spoiler.
Fair.
I don't know.
That's
I'll leave
actually...
it up to you, Mr. Editor.
Yes.